Hello everybody. Today I'm going to demonstrate astrophotography with a very humble astrophotography setup. Astrophotography is the process of taking photographs of the night sky, and in this case we're talking about a telescope attached to a camera, and that is operating like a very long lens. So in actuality what we're going to try to photograph today is a tiny patch of the night sky. Now in order to do that we do need some equipment and we do need some software. And in the world of telescopes and cameras there are lots of details and facts and figures, but for the purposes of keeping this video short I'm going to leave that for another video which I'm going to put up, where I'm going to discuss the telescope and the mount and the camera and everything like that. So for this video I'm trying to keep it as brief as possible, and I'm just going to list the equipment that we've got. So we've got a Celestron 127 SLT telescope on a computerized go-to mount, and on the back of that telescope we have a Canon 700D SLR camera body, and more or less this is what it looks like sitting out in the backyard. On top of that we have some software that we're going to be using. So we've got a planetarium software which I've got open already, which is called Stellarium, and that shows us what we can see in the night sky tonight, or indeed at any other night of the year. And we're also going to be using Astrophotography tool, and that's a free software. It's a software that has an unlimited free trial that allows us to control the DSLR camera and bring images back to the computer immediately for processing. And we've also got the Celestron Nexstar remote which controls the telescope mount. And I can show you that there. So the orange software here is Astrophotography tool, and on the right is the remote control for the telescope mount. Now, going a bit beyond that, what I'm going to try and do is capture some photographs and then stack them using a software called Deep Sky Stacker. That's also a freeware software, and on the front end of Deep Sky Stacker, which is not the most usable program out there, we have another freeware program called Astrotoaster by Howie Levine. And Astrotoaster is really nice because it will show us the stacking process in live, essentially. And I'll talk more about that when we're doing it. Now, all in, this kind of setup, the telescope and the mount might retail for £500, the camera body maybe £300, a few cables and adapters, we might be talking about £850 or so. All of the software is free or free trial, and you know, so for £850 what we're talking about is a relatively inexpensive astrophotography setup. In the world of cameras and telescopes this is not a lot of money. So let's immediately get into the live view of this. So I've got the telescope pointed at a star called Altair, and I'm going to turn on the live view here, and this is going to show me kind of video, and that's the star of Altair in the middle here. I'm immediately going to ask the telescope to go to Jupiter, which I happen to know is in the sky tonight. I'm going to click go. I can see the images moving around here. Okay, there we go. So the very bright disk in the middle of the shot here is Jupiter, and just going to let's see if we can do something about this here. So we can make this okay. So this bright disk here, which is currently overexposed, is Jupiter, and we have 3 of the 4 largest moons of Jupiter, the so-called Galilean moons, clearly visible, and these moons are visible not only in a small telescope but even in a pair of binoculars. You can very often see 2 or 3 of them. What I'm going to do then is, from the control panel here, I can turn down the exposure maybe down to 2 seconds. It's getting a bit lower. Let's go down to maybe 0.6. Okay, and we're starting to lose the moons, and Jupiter. Still can't quite see any detail on Jupiter here. Maybe 1/4 of a second. What does that do? 1/5 of a second. Yeah, 1/6 of a second. Okay, I like that. And you can just about see, it's very faint, but you can just about see the 2 most prominent bands on Jupiter at the moment. And I can go to 10 times digital zoom on this, and you notice how the image is moving around a tremendous amount in the viewfinder, and that's because of the atmosphere in between the telescope and the planet Jupiter, and because Jupiter is very low in the sky during the summer this year, there is a lot of atmosphere that we're looking through here, and that's why this is actually pretty poor conditions to look at Jupiter at the moment. It's too low in the sky, and as you can see, the atmosphere is blocking us out. But I just wanted to show you that you can see the 2 most prominent bands. So let's come out of that, because I want to also show you the process. I'm not going to take any photographs of Jupiter tonight. The scene conditions are not great. I want to show you what it looks like to try and take a photograph of a deep sky object. I'll turn off the live view there for a moment. I'm going to come back to my planetarium software. So we're over here, we're focused in on Jupiter, and I want to draw our attention to an object up here in the constellation of Lyra, called the Ring Nebula, also known as M57. Now, there's a lot of technical detail written down the side here about this object, and I'm fairly confident that based on this detail, which I'm not going to talk about too much, that we are going to be able to take a photograph or several photographs of this object, even from this very amateur setup that we have. So we can zoom back out, and we can see that's quite high up in the sky, and that's good because it means we're looking through less atmosphere. And look how low Jupiter is in the sky, in the southern sky tonight. So let's go back to our remote control studio, and I'm going to ask the telescope to go to M57. Enter. It's going to take a few seconds to do that. No is to take a photograph. So let's clear the stretch. So we've got bulb mode 6400, and we'll go with 6 seconds. Shoot. Okay, great. In fact, there it is. We can see it. I turn on auto stretch here. Yeah. There it is. Obviously, that's not what we would like to see. So I'm going to clear this stretch. But yes, we can see just the faintest outline of this object. And if I zoom in here, we do have some star trailing. So I'm just going to take another photograph. I'm going to keep it 6 seconds and just see if the tracking has settled down, because I think we should be able to do a bit better than this is not so good. Yeah, and that's a little bit better. A little bit of trailing, but we can see clearly this object. So what I'm now going to demonstrate is how we would stack and process this kind of image. So what I've done is I've told the software to capture 6-second exposures periodically with some kind of pause in between to allow the camera to transfer the data. I'm going to turn off the image preview because that tends to consume a lot of time, and I'm going to bring us over now to the deep sky stacking software, and we should already be having turn on the monitor. I'm going to turn on stacking, I'm going to turn on refresh, and it looks like we don't have any. So what's gone on there? Right, okay, so that's the first image into we have an image on the screen here. This is one image, and we have this. It's appeared in the stacking tool, and I can apply an auto histogram option here, and that will stretch the histogram of the image, and we can immediately see a lot of noise, a lot of light pollution, but we can see the Ring Nebula. We can see it. There it is. What I'm going to demonstrate now. The camera's already picked up, and what should happen is this image should start to improve because we are now stacking the images on top of each other. We're improving the signal to noise ratio. You can already see that's immediately darker. Okay, so we have nearly all the images. We've already taken 18 images here, and there's a couple of mediocre ones I'm going to remove from the stack. This one and this one didn't score too highly, but the rest are capturing lots of the image stacking software, seeing lots of stars, lots of high scoring images there. So that's good. I've just been playing around here, stretching the histogram a little bit more, and you can see that we're getting. Okay, if I really zoom in, it's not so good, but I can develop the black a little bit. Does the algorithm help me? Not too much. Okay. So there we go. I think that's enough for this video. In my next couple of videos I'm going to talk about how you can see very clearly here the vignetting, so we can see the corners of the image are much darker than the middle. We can absolutely work with that. But otherwise I think that is a very reasonable image for 20 minutes work. Thank you very much, and see you soon.